Okay, let's talk about the nervous system. So this is one of the things that actually helped me tremendously in dealing with my own stress and anxiety is understanding what's actually happening, understanding how the body functions and why it's functioning the way that it is. What is normal and how should it be functioning? And then what is going wrong? Why do I have all this anxiety? Why do I have all this stress? But to really understand that, I have to understand how it functions in the first place. So let's dig into that. So I want to talk about your autonomic nervous system. Now, this is the part of our nervous system that is constantly gauging kind of what's going on. What is the scenario that we're in right now? What parts of my body systems should be turned on? What should my hormones be doing? What neurotransmitters should be happening? It's gauging a lot of different things as far as what scenario I'm in, the people I'm around, what I'm thinking, what I'm feeling, the sensations that I'm feeling. It's taking in a lot of data. And then it uses that data to essentially decide, am I safe right now or am I not safe right now? And depending on whether it decides, am I safe or am I not, decides what side of that autonomic nervous system is turned on. We have two main modes. We have our sympathetic nervous system and we have our parasympathetic nervous system. And this you might have heard of. Our sympathetic nervous system we know as fight or flight, and our parasympathetic we know as rest and digest, or it's also known as feed and breathe. Now, both of these are necessary. Both sides are an important part of our nervous system and how we function. And we should actually have a back and forth between these two throughout the day. There's nothing wrong with the sympathetic nervous system. It's easy when we learn about it to first think, oh, I don't want to be in my sympathetic nervous system at all. But you actually need to be. If you are driving down the road and someone goes to swerve into you, you want that sympathetic nervous system to turn on, because that's what turns on the parts of your brain that tells you what to pay attention to, that can think quickly, make quick decisions, move your body quickly and fast so that you can get out of that situation. We need that. Otherwise, you might crash into their car because you're moving too slowly. So the sympathetic nervous system is not bad. What is harmful is when we're not doing the back and forth, but we're staying too often in our sympathetic nervous system. And often, if we are having a lot of stress and a lot of anxiety in our life, it's because that sympathetic nervous system is turned on and triggered on way too often. And if this is happening, then most likely our nervous system is dysregulated. Now, the way that you can think of this, I'll use an illustration of a smoke alarm. Now, we want a smoke alarm. We want there to be a smoke alarm in our house, because if you're sleeping in the middle of the night, something catches on fire, you want that smoke alarm to wake you up so that you can get out and save your life. But what if that smoke alarm is so sensitive that it goes off because a candle is burning? Or what if it's so sensitive that it goes off because a neighbor 2 houses down started a fire in their fireplace? We wouldn't like that, right? We wouldn't want a smoke alarm that was doing that. We want it to work when it's supposed to work and not be so sensitive to things that aren't actually dangers. And usually when we're dealing with a lot of stress and anxiety, it's because we're reacting to things that aren't actually dangers. Our nervous system is super sensitive and isn't regulating and judging the information that's coming in correctly. And why is this important? Not only is it just not fun to live with stress and anxiety all the time, but it has a huge impact on our overall health, as well as our mental health, but specifically on our physical body, because when our sympathetic nervous system is triggered, it turns on the parts of our brain, as I said, that helps you to get away, think quickly, to be very focused on something, which is good. It's important. That's how it's supposed to work. It also dumps a bunch of cortisol, which cortisol is not a bad chemical. We know that as a stress hormone. But if we have too much of it, it can actually do a lot of damage in our body and have a lot of problems with our hormones and things like that, and makes our bodies just not function as well. The other main thing is that, and this is a huge thing, is if you are in that stress state all the time, in that state, you're not fully digesting your food because your body is focused on, I need to make sure I can get up and get away. I need to make sure I can get out of this situation safely. And so it turns off parts of the body that is just not a priority right now. The priority is getting away. So digesting your food, not a priority. Repairing your cells, not a priority. Healing your cells, making new healthy cells, not a priority. When we're in that sympathetic nervous system state, we're not taking care, our body is not doing all the processes to take care of itself and to build a healthy body that it needs to do. So if you are in that state more often than not, you are building unhealthy cells. Your body is doing the bare minimum to get by. You're probably having digestive issues because you're not fully digesting. You only fully digest when you're in that relaxed parasympathetic nervous system state. This is why this is so important. This is why stress is known as the #1 killer, because when we are stuck in that state, we're not taking care of our bodies. Our bodies are breaking down because they never get into that mode where they actually heal. Because in the parasympathetic mode, that is when we are digesting. It's called rest and digest for a reason. Because that is when your body is actually able to go through the full mode of breaking down all of your food. Because what is digestion? That's where we get our nutrients. That's where we get the building blocks for our cells. Our body is constantly making new cells, constantly, all day long. It's making new cells. It's also repairing cells. It's repairing the DNA. It's fighting things that could do it harm. It's doing all those things all the time. But those things aren't happening nearly as much as they should be if we're in that stress state. So this is why this is so important. So how do we address this? The first step, like with most things, is just awareness. Be aware of how you're functioning through the day. Be aware of your thoughts. Be aware of when you're feeling stressed. Don't be upset if you notice that you are in the stress state more often than not. Just be aware of it. Just acknowledge it and notice it. What your body is doing is not bad or wrong. It's most likely learned to function that way for a reason. And I'm going to dig into all those things in later videos, so stay tuned for that. But start the awareness process. One of the things that you can do that can make a huge difference, and I see this in my practice as a massage therapist all the time, is just tune into your body. Start to feel what your body feels like. One of the ways that I always know that someone is struggling to relax is because their body gets really, really tense. And usually it's because they're trying to relax. Trying to relax doesn't work. What always works is if I, instead of telling them to relax, tell them to notice how their body feels. Pay attention to sensation throughout your day. Because when you're in that sympathetic state, you're pretty disconnected from your body. You're pretty disconnected from sensations because those things aren't important. When you're in your parasympathetic nervous system though, that's when you are more in tune with what's going on in your body, when you are noticing different sensations more. So you can actually trigger that response by consciously activating, paying attention to sensations. And it can be as simple as when you wash your hands, sit and pay attention and think about what the water feels like. How does the water feel on my hands? What's the temperature? What does that sensation feel like? What does the soap feel like? Is it tingly? What do those bubbles feel like of that soap? Really pay attention to the sensations. What does it smell like? What does the soap smell like? What am I hearing through the day? Do these different things to tune into all your senses. Activate as many senses as you possibly can throughout the day. Take those moments, and that's a great first step in learning how to be more in your body and in training yourself to pay closer attention to when you are in your parasympathetic nervous system. So I hope that was helpful. Let me know in the comments, and definitely hit that subscribe button, as well as give me a follow over on Instagram and TikTok. I do a lot of teaching over there as well. And I hope to see you in the next video.